Philosophy of Hinduism by Babasaheb Ambedkar. Introduction. Philosophy of Hinduism 1. Part 3. The second dimension is to know the ideal scheme for which a religion stands, to define what is fixed, permanent, and dominant part in the religion of any society, and to separate its essential characteristics from those who are essential and unessential is often very difficult. The reason for this difficulty, in all probability, lies in the difficulty pointed out by Professor Robertson Smith when he says, the traditional usage of religion had grown up gradually in the course of many centuries and reflected habits of thought characteristic of every diverse stages of man's intellect and moral development. No conception of the nature of the gods could possibly afford the clue to all parts of that motley complex of rites and ceremonies which the latter and later paganism had received by inheritance from a series of ancestors in every state of culture from pure savagery upwards. The record of the religious thought of mankind as it is embodied in religious institutions resembles the geological record of the history of the earth's crust. The new and the old are preserved side by side, or rather, layer upon layer. The same thing has happened in India. Speaking about the growth of religion in India, says Professor Max Muller, we have seen a religion growing up from stage to stage, from the simplest childish prayers to the highest metaphysical abstractions. In the majority of the hymns of the Veda, we might recognize the childhood. In the Brahmanas and their sacrificial, domestic, and moral ordinances, the busy manhood. In the Upanishads, the old age of the Vedic religion. We could have well understood if, with the historical progress of the Indian mind, they had discarded the purely childish prayers as soon as they had arrived at the maturity of the Brahmins, and if, when the vanity of sacrifices and the real character of the old gods had once been recognized, they would have been superseded by the more exalted religion of the Upanishads. But it was not so. Every religion thought that had once found expression in India had that had once been handed down as a sacred heirloom was preserved. And the thoughts of the three historical periods, childhood, manhood, and old age, of the Indian nation were made to do permanent service in the three stages of the life of every individual. Thus alone can we explain how the same sacred code, Veda, contains not only the records of different phases of religious thought, but of doctrines which we may call almost diametrically opposed to each other. But this difficulty is not so great in the case of religions which are positive religions. The fundamental characteristic of positive religions is that they have not grown up like primitive religions, under the action of unconscious forces operating silently from age to age, but trace their origin to the teaching of great religious innovators who spoke as the organs of a divine revelation. Being the result of conscious formulations, the philosophy of a religion which is positive is easy to find and easy to state. Hinduism, like Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, is in the main a positive religion. One does not have to search for its scheme of divine governance. It is not like an unwritten constitution. On the Hindu scheme of divine governance is enshrined in a written constitution, and anyone who cares to know it will find it laid bare in that sacred book called the Manusmriti, a divine code which lays down the rules which govern the religious, ritualistic, and social life of the Hindus in minute detail, and which must be regarded as the Bible of the Hindus and containing the philosophy of Hinduism. The end.